what we're going to do is talk about just things not to do with your backups. I've just hit the record button, so if you miss any part of this, you have to step away. You just want it as a refresher down the road. You will get a recorded version of this. It'll be coming from the Great Lakes computer people. And also, you'll have my slide deck, so if there's anything you need to reference, you can. So that being said, from a questions perspective today, everyone is on mute, but don't let that persuade you from asking questions. If you need to do that, do it in the chat box. If I'm not mistaken, provided WebEx will even let you to begin with, I have set everyone up to be muted on entry. However, you should be able to unmute yourself. I'm not scared of you unmuting yourself, so if there's something you want to dive into, how it relates to Veeam, or even if it doesn't even relate to Veeam, and it's a current solution you're using, I'm okay talking about that. So I would like to make this as interactive as possible. I would like to make this not death by PowerPoint, and hopefully people get some good things out of today's webinar. So that being said, I'm going to pass things over to Jason for a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about Great Lakes Computer, what they bring to the table, what they do. And so that being said, Jason, it is all yours, and you tell me when to move the slides, and I'll make that happen for you.
Why, thank you very much, Jason. So my name is Jason Schroll, and I'm a pre-sales engineer over here at Great Lakes. There's a good chance that I've spoken to many of you already on the phone when talking about hardware solutions or data center solutions, and it's my pleasure to talk to you guys today about some of the Veeam benefits. So let's talk a little bit about GLC first. Since 1986, if you can believe it, GLC has been one of the largest, most trusted resellers of new and refurbished technology infrastructure worldwide. With nearly 3 decades of combined multi-platform experience, we at GLC are truly an unbiased IT resource for clients large and small. We are continuously evolving our network of resources to provide solutions tailored to the specific technology needs of your organization. We maintain a warehouse that if you didn't know, we do have a warehouse containing over 30,000 SKUs comprised of systems and components, enabling us to quickly meet your immediate needs, whether for current generation stuff or legacy stuff. GLC's long-term success, we have a passion for helping customers simplify, consolidate, and secure their data centers with resources dedicated to the key strategic areas of networking, security, virtualization, and data management. Next slide, please. So when it comes to networking and security, we do know that the process of designing and implementing a networking solution can be complex. We also know that in the ever-changing security landscape, it's important to have a technology partner that understands not only network security, but how to implement the necessary changes and measures to protect against ever-evolving threats. That's why our PSO team, which I'm a member of, that's why our team offers these services to help optimize and secure your network. Next slide, please. For virtualization, we offer experienced VCPs like myself that'll work with you and your account manager to architect the most cost-effective solution to your needs while maintaining or improving your performance, availability, and security. Our implementation service is tailored to your individual company requirements, providing either on-site or even remote services as most appropriate, and all of our engagements always include ample knowledge transfer to make sure you are comfortable with the technology and prepared to operate your solution effectively when we're done. Next slide, please. When it comes to data management, what's that, Jay?
That is the last slide for you.
Okay. When it comes to data management, we fully believe that data is your company's most important asset. Managing that data across the entirety of its life cycle can be costly and complex, and especially with the exponential data growth trends and uptime. We know that reducing costs and effectively managing data so that it can be leveraged for the benefit of your business are top priorities. Here at GLC, we can help your business achieve your data management goals for reduced OPEX and CAPEX, increased business agility, and enhanced operational efficiency. Do we have one more slide, Jay?
That's it, my friend. So,
all right, one more thing.
Of course.
Actually, no, that's it. I'll turn it back over to you, Jay, for your Veeam software presentation on 18 things not to do with your availability strategy. There you go, Jay.
You got it. Thank you, Jason. So my name's Jason Acord. On the front page, when we first got started in the webinar, make note of this when you do get the recording. Believe it or not, my email address is on it. If you need anything, reach out. If there's conversations you want to take offline, I'm okay with that. If it's more in-depth conversations, obviously looping in Great Lakes and letting them circle back and let us getting us involved obviously makes sense. But if there's anything specific to this webinar you want to talk about, take offline or otherwise, use it. And on the very last slide today, once again, I've been brave enough to share that information. So if you want to hit me up via email, stalk me on LinkedIn or wherever the case may be, feel free to do that. And if there's anything I can help with, I'd be more than happy to do so. So from a questions perspective today, and I made mention of this previously, however, WebEx is not cooperating with a few people today. So if you have questions, ask. You don't have to wait to ask them either. If you want to wait, hold it to the end. We are going to have some time at the end for Q&A. But if you see a topic that just really jumps out at you, or there's something that I make mention of that you want me to talk a little bit more in depth on, you want me to get into the weeds on, I'm okay with all of that. In addition, I have hit the ever-present record button. So you'll get my slides. You'll get a recording of this to reference if you'd like to. And that being said, let's jump into the meat of what we're talking about today. So we are talking about virtualization backup. Today, believe it or not, I'm not going to cram a lot of Veeam down your throat. This is a very kind of Veeam agnostic, sort of, kind of. I'm going to change it up at the end, but those 18 bullet points or those 18 points about what not to do with your Veeam backups, they're going to be really agnostic, be it Veeam or otherwise. Yes, there's some Veeam that you can sprinkle in there because there are some great things we can do when you start talking about Veeam backups, but we'll leave it a little bit agnostic and let people come to their own kind of conclusions for your data center. It's your data. I'm just here to talk about a couple of things to take in consideration. One of them, get multiple copies of your backup. So also kind of the ultimate use case is having 3 different copies of your backup data or production in conjunction with backup data. And not only that, put it on different media. So, okay, I'm going disk to disk. Let's get it off to another disk. That way if there's, say it's a NAS to NAS scenario, maybe it's a consumer-grade NAS that you don't have that has consumer-grade hard drives in it. Lifespan on those old guys they're good, but they're not great. So just in case, even if it is a enterprise class disk that you're backing up to, things do happen. Be it SMB, be it enterprise or otherwise, things do happen. So the VM data that's going to be living on that disk is a very critical thing, if you will. So just something else to think about, put it on 2 separate disks. And this is something oftentimes people back up to that primary disk and boom, gotcha, it's done, I'm safe. But think a little bit deeper. Think, what if something were to happen? And a lot of it's, I wouldn't say morbid conversations, but it's conversations that do need to happen for the business. That way, if something does happen, you have the ability to obviously restore it if you need to. Lastly, one which is off-site, get it out of the building. Fire, flood, tornado, wherever you may be in the country, there are catastrophic things that could happen. So add that into the mix as well. And not only that, take that off-site a little bit farther down the road as well. When you get it off-site, there's a lot of different options for off-site nowadays. And I refuse to say that last word that starts with CLOUD because everybody hates that term, but that's a viable solution for a lot of people. And not only that, a lot of the other cloud solutions, yes, I know I said it, they have been maturing, and from a backup perspective, they've been maturing from a perspective of it becomes very easy to move it to the cloud. It really becomes a very seamless transition to take that say, backup file, whatever it may be, and just copy it. Just from a Veeam perspective, it's a backup copy job, and move it to the cloud, or move it to multiple clouds, multiple data centers, or even if you don't want to go to the cloud from a compliance perspective or otherwise, you could move that into offloading to tape, offloading to another site, or whatever the case may be. So don't forget, 3, 2, 1, multiple copies of it in multiple places, and try your very best to at least get one of it off site. Don't be unvirtual. So what that means, and what I'm meaning by that, is if you're virtualizing, go all in, if you will. So take in consideration you're running a VMware infrastructure, and you've got a lot of pass-through disks attached to those VMs. Or you went to the length of virtualizing to take advantage of this or that virtualization brings to the table, and you kind of cheaped out, if you will. You said, okay, I'm not going to leverage that and put that data and then encapsulate that data inside of VMDK. I'm just going to leverage the iSCSI initiator or a pass-through disk or an RDM, point it back to the SAN, and move on. Don't forget, when you're leveraging solutions, and yes, Veeam is one of those, and there are a multitude of others, put it in a VMDK. That way, from a VMware perspective, and this applies to Hyper-V as well, when leveraging the VMware APIs for data protection or those Hyper-V frameworks, that the solution that you choose can back it all up. So if it doesn't exist as a VMDK, you will be absolutely forced to do something like SAN-based replication. Not saying that's a bad thing. Or something like an agent-based solution that's backing up things from a file-level perspective. So something that's oftentimes overlooked, even if you inherit a virtual infrastructure, hey, it's VM, I'm not great, we're good, we're backing it up. Don't forget to just dig deeper. How is that VM set up? How is it configured? Is it using an older version of VMware hardware? Is it out-of-date VMware tools, or whatever the case may be? So another thing to think about. Skipping new features when it makes sense, and this is one that is absolutely near and dear to my heart, because the VMDK limitation on vSphere, that just killed me for years. What I mean by that, if you're not up to date or not even familiar with vSphere 6, that 2 terabyte limit on a VMDK is gone. So you're looking at terabytes and terabytes. That you can now take those machines that you had to use something like a pass-through disk or an iSCSI-initiated volume on a monster file server or Exchange Server D drive that was holding an Exchange Server database. That's gone. So take a look at it, be aware of it, and make sure it makes sense for the business, obviously. But upgrading to those newer versions of Hypervisor sometimes absolutely does make sense. From a perspective of taking advantage of some of those newer technologies. Upgrading the wrong way. I've seen this a multitude of times. So I've got a VMware infrastructure, and it was poorly designed, or you inherited it, and you know things are wrong. You know things could be better. There are things out there that can help you with that. So I've seen a lot of VMs where they have older versions of VMware hardware, and they just forget about them. They move them over, they migrate them to a new cluster, call it a day. Put it in perspective, if you were to do that, you're using vSphere 6, say it was sitting on VMware hardware version 3, what I was just telling you about those disks being larger inside of VMware, congratulations, you can't use that. So make sure that when you do upgrade it, that you're not taking the bad in side A and moving it over to side B or otherwise. So just be aware of that. And not only that, something like native replication techniques or Veeam replication, for example, can give you an excellent way to move infrastructure from, say if you're going from vSphere 5.5 to 6, an easy way to make that happen. After the fact, you could upgrade VMware hardware and really call it a day. So just another bullet point to think about. Don't upgrade components without support. So don't forget about those older OSs. Server 2003, I'm sure everybody is absolutely sick of hearing about, but it is a true concern. So make sure that when you do those upgrades, Make sure that you have operating systems that can support that. And or from an operating system perspective, make sure you're running the latest and greatest. From a security patch perspective, those will be up to date as opposed to something like Server 03 being end of life and you're not getting any more patches for it. That makes sense. Likewise for vSphere 6 Hyper-V server. If you're running 2008 R2, Hyper-V has made some monumental changes inside of Hyper-V. So going from 2008 R2 to 2012 or 2012 R2, there's great things to be had. Same thing when you start talking about virtual hard disks inside of Hyper-V, networking, maximum amount of CPU, RAM, otherwise. So don't forget about that. Don't omit key features out of these platforms. So vSphere 6, a lot of great stuff, virtual volumes, vSphere 6 storage profiles. So make sure that that supporting data is protected, and don't forget that the VM backups are, yes, if you bring Veeam into the mix, you're looking at full VM backup, but there's other things like Hyper-V meta XML data, the vCloud Director VApp metadata. So there's other things to be had, and go figure, yes, Veeam is one of those solutions that can absolutely put that back in its entirety, and you have the ability to get whatever you need back. Restorations under pressure stink. I've been there. I've done that. So if you need to restore, test your restores, please. It doesn't have to be someone breathing down your neck when you restore something. Test it. Then congratulations, when you're finished testing it, test it again. From a Veeam perspective, here's one thing I am going to throw out because it is a very important thing for Veeam, and it should be for every network admin or backup admin or storage admin. Inside of Veeam, there is a simple Veeam backup and replication. There is a simple integrity check that happens on every one of our backup files. Make sure that what you have is valid, right? That's a normal thing that other solutions do just the same. However, there's technology built in called Sure Backup that can go much, much farther. If you haven't heard of this or don't know what's kind of behind the scenes, when Veeam backs up a VM, we back up the entire VM. Great. Now, when we test it, yes, we do that integrity check I just talked about. However, if you schedule something like what's called a Sure Backup job, what that's going to do is leverage our virtual labs. It's going to take that data. It's going to leverage your backup data. It's going to take that backup that is the VM and turn it on. And when it turns it on inside an isolated environment that Veeam creates for you. There's no wizardry that you have to do inside of VMware Hyper-V. We'll do that for you. And we turn it on and we test it. We test it from a networking perspective, from an application perspective, and to be quite honest, you can go wherever you want with it. You can go deeper into application testing. You can do scripts against it, and not only that, when this particular test I'm speaking of is done, it turns it off and it's done. So last thing after it's done, it sends you a report that all's well in the world and what you have backed up with Veeam backup and replication can be recovered because we took the backup file, we turned it on, we tested it. When it was done, we turned it off and put it back to where it was, that read-only backup file. So that's how we can do it. If you don't have the luxury of having technology such as that, do it manually. Just test it. Be familiar with the process of what you need to do to get the VM or get that machine or get the application and get it back. And that way, when it comes to quote-unquote prime time to do that restore, you have a good knowledge of what's going to happen, how you need to do it to get those machines or applications or otherwise back up and going. Restoring too much. Here's another one I hear quite often. I want to restore a singular email. So the process I need to do as a network administrator for widget company XYZ to do that, I've got to restore a 2 terabyte Exchange server database, mount it, dismount the production database after hours, bring that secondary recovery group up, pull my message out of it, push that to the side, bring the Exchange server back online, and then re-import the email. That doesn't have to be. So if you need Exchange data, have a solution in front of you that can dig into that Exchange data, be it Exchange, SQL, Active Directory, or otherwise, If you need an email, go get an email. You need an Active Directory item, have a solution that can dig into that for you, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That way, from a recovery time objective, you're nimble. You can get that back as you need it or whenever you need it. That holds true for virtual machine components like the VMDK, the virtual machine configuration, or that normal solution that everybody has is, I need a file. Do that. You don't have to restore the entire server for us to go get a file. Just go get your file and call it a day. So don't restore too much. Don't have slow restores. Easy for me to say. I'm sitting on a WebEx. What I mean by that is you're potentially backing up to a disk. So from a disk-based perspective, don't cheap out on that backup storage. So have a fast disk that can facilitate those fast restores. I know this sounds very obvious, but oftentimes it's, oh, I've got a USB hard drive. That's a fantastic place to back up. Well, maybe, maybe not. So is there expectations from a business perspective you'll be able to pull 10 terabytes out of that NAS in a couple of hours? Probably not. Probably going to take a lot longer than that. So put some investment in that backup storage, and sneaky feeling, the great people at Great Lakes Computer can probably find you some of that storage. So put some investment in it. All kidding aside, it will definitely bode well from an administrative perspective if you need to put things back together. So oftentimes, a lot of people come to me as a Veeam engineer, and we talk about architecture. What do we need to have that ultimate architecture? Yes, there is one, but don't forget, it's not necessarily a particular part number of, I would like to have this nimble SAN in my infrastructure to back up to, and that's going to make it great. It's kind of the whole picture. Yes, it could be that particular nimble SAN that you're backing up to, but it's more of a way of thinking. And what I mean by that is put thinking into what we've already talked about, the backup process. Most importantly, the restoration process. Where you're backing up to, what do you need to do? How quickly can it get back? And for me, coming from a consulting life before my world here at Veeam, what does the owner, what does C-level management expect if something were to go wrong? So don't forget about that piece of it. It's more just think about all aspects of it, be it good, bad, or ugly, and point being that can definitely save you some time, save you some heartache, and from a business perspective, it'll really, to be quite honest, it's going to save the business money. So skipping on the offsite element. I talked earlier and made mention of a USB hard drive. That is a possibility. Yes, I used to live in the real world at one point in my life, and for some of the businesses I was consulting with, USB hard drive was it. They haven't seen a webinar like this, and okay, USB hard drive, that's it. You can't have any more money, make it happen. I don't care what you do. Do that, but integrate that into the 3-2-1 rule. If you're going to offload or back up to USB hard drive, have 2 of them, have 4 of them. And not only that, see if you can put in any type of cloud-based storage, be it to a service provider. Even if it's something like, okay, it's a smaller environment and they have something like a nimble SAN, leveraging those snapshots, and maybe that nimble SAN has a brother on the other side that it's replicating to, that could absolutely be a component of that offsite backup, having the nimble replication on the other side while Veeam's doing backups as well as backing up to the cloud. So just don't forget about all the options out there. If it's tape, where are you putting it? Are you putting it in the server room right beside the server you're trying to protect? Obviously a bad idea. So there are options out there. Don't forget about them. There's other things to be had. So something else to speak about, over permission. What does that mean? So in backing up, yes, we back up the entire VM, but make sure that the right people have the permissions to do the right tasks. And what I mean by that is having a solution such as Veeam backing up the entire VM, there's a lot of great stuff that can happen when you start restoring. So maybe the junior help desk admin has access to the Veeam console. They're going to have access to do a lot of great stuff. Could be harmful in some aspects, because if you don't know, if you take a full VM that's been backed up and take that full VM and recover it entirely to the original location, you're looking at bad things happening. Things have been overwritten. You're losing data as opposed to protecting data. So, point being, make sure that if somebody doesn't need, nor they need the access to recover entire VMs, and they only need to restore individual files, make sure that you have somewhere in a methodology just to give them limited permissions inside the backup product or inside web-based consoles or whatever the case may be to do what they need to do. So have some protection from the server room as well to make sure whoever is doing what they can do, and they don't get themselves in trouble. So restoring. There's something else that you can take in consideration in locking those people down. Is there any type of auditing that is needed, be it from a financial perspective or just from a peace of mind perspective? Have something out there that can tell you who restored what, where they put it, and not only that, if it's from an enterprise perspective, a change control team, security team needs it, that you have the ability to provide that, you have the ability to have that tracking, have that auditing, to save yourself if something were to happen or it was even needed to begin with. Backup capacity. Veeam, and a lot of other solutions out there as well, are disk-based backup solutions. So all that holds true. But don't forget about the questions that usually people can't answer very easily of, great, I have a nice nimble SAN I'm backing up to. When's that going to be full? Okay, I don't know. So inside of Veeam, we will tell you when you get close, but there are some extended reporting and monitoring that you can run to give you capacity planning on it. So how busy are different components of the backup infrastructure? We can help with that. Management of the entire backup infrastructure, giving you the ability to see the pieces and the parts. What are they doing? When are they doing it? Is it affecting my production, say, nimble SAN when that happens? And yes, I'm picking on Nimble today. I don't know why, but I am. So something else to think about. Getting close to the end of my bullet points for today. Don't omit the data that is not in the data center. So host, Veeam backup and replication is going to back up the VM. It's going to protect the critical information on that host, the VMs, the guests that are running on it. So say you have a one-off physical server, desktops, laptops. Don't forget about it. Those need to be protected as well. And go figure, yes, Veeam can absolutely accommodate that. Letting the backups break everything else. I'm sure everybody is very familiar with this. The backup window spills over into 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm manning the help desk for today, and they're interfering with production. So choosing something like an image-based solution that's working at the hypervisor level can help tremendously. In addition, getting specifically into a Veeam component, we can slow ourselves down if it is affecting production to make sure that, quite simply, it doesn't. So measuring those key metrics of what's going on from a latency perspective, very important stuff. Storage features. I had made mention of this previously. You have a nimble SAN and you're replicating over to another nimble. Take advantage of that. If you have another SAN, you're doing snapshots on it, it's not a nimble, that's okay. Maybe you want to leverage that. But also, most importantly, just have it on another set of disks. So doing snapshots on a production SAN, great stuff. But if you go look into one of the VMware knowledge base articles that I love, kind of crazy, I do love a VMware knowledge base article, but it does say snapshots are backups. So if you do a VMware snapshot, Hyper-V checkpoints still hold true as well. They're not backups. They're a snapshot. They're not a complete image. They're just the deltas of what's happened since you did the snapshot. So get it on another disk, wherever that may be. So last bullet points, restoration options. You need options. If something's going to fail, chances are it's going to be around 4:59 on a Friday afternoon, or probably about 7:55 on a Monday morning, or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you have to be woke up to fix it. How many different ways with your current solution can you get out of whatever that come up? Think about that. So if you currently don't own Veeam and you have a image, maybe you have an agent-based solution and you're only backing up the files of your VMs. I don't have to tell a lot of people what you have to do to potentially get that back. There's steps. So lastly, from a Veeam perspective, there are 47 different options to restore not only the VM, there are general options that will put the entire VM back. There'll be options for the VMDK, from a file level recovery, application item recovery, directly from storage snapshots, from tape, from our web-based portal. We've got a lot of up our sleeve to help you as a backup admin or a storage admin or just a business owner. If you're just a small shop and you're doing it all, there are things we can do to help. So don't forget about that. Ultimately, yes, this is my 19th kind of bullet point. My apologies, I went over. But things to think about. So right now, we're sitting on Veeam Backup and Replication version 8. Reason I wanted to kind of share that, it may be common knowledge, but I'd like to throw in something that may be a little bit of a surprise for everybody. Version 9 is around the corner. So if you want to get into some of the details, feel free to visit our website. But there are some very specific things that are happening. There's some really good things that are happening inside of version 9 that I'd like to share with you today. It is not GA as of yet. As of right now, we are sitting in beta. So it is very imminent, if you will. So a couple of highlights. If you don't go to our website, Veeam Explorer for Oracle. Right now, we have the ability to dig into applications. We have the ability to dig into Exchange, SQL, Active Directory. A lot of good stuff, right? So that is going to be extended into Oracle databases. So moving outside the scope of just strictly Microsoft applications. Explorer for SQL Server. We have it now, but we are improving this. We're improving almost all of the Explorers that are currently in version 8. SQL Server, no difference. So from an Active Directory perspective, we're allowing you now to dig into group policy objects. From a SQL Server perspective, you got it. Table level recovery, remote staging for restoration, a lot of great stuff. Additional backup storage integrations. There's some additional targets that we're supporting. There's some additional SANs where we have some additional enhancements coming as well. And this is not all, guys. So take a look at our website. If you go to veeam.com, you can sign up for this, and you'll be the first to know when this is going to hit. Also, on our website, the exact same place you sign up for this, there is a detailed list, step by step, of the individual components of what we're releasing inside of version 9. We're not finished yet, by the way. We've released, I want to say, about 8 or 9 of the major features, and there's been 2 of them let out of the bag, one yesterday, and I think another one is coming today. So really good stuff to take a look at on our website if you want to dig a little bit deeper into version 9. Now, something else that is near and dear to a lot of people's heart is budget. I don't have any. How can you help me? So don't forget, from a Veeam perspective, yes, we're on track to be a billion-dollar company by 2018. However, there's free stuff out there. There's free editions of really every single one of our products, to be quite honest. They are limited, but they are very functional when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it. So don't forget it. If you go to veeam.com, you'll see that. Most specifically, if you go to veeam.com/backup, you'll be able to see everything free, paid, and otherwise. So, Jason Stroll, it's your time now. I think now we need to do a little bit of Q&A. You okay with that?
Yeah, let's do it. Fire it away. If anyone has any, we can't go, obviously, super deep on some of these conversations. We can take them a little bit offline so not everyone has to hear them. But if anyone has any, now's the time.
You got it. So it looks like Tim's got the first question. And before we answer Tim's question, just a heads up for everybody. And Jason Schroll, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we may have a gift card up for grabs. Is there any truth to that?
You are correct, Jay. We have a $100 Amazon gift card, I think chosen randomly to a lucky participant.
Cool. So, to a lucky presenter or participant? I didn't hear you say that. Did I miss?
Well, sorry about that, buddy.
Oh, well. Maybe next time. All right, Tim, let's get to your question. Can the Veeam console be used by a help desk without installing the server components? Right now, our RDP to the Veeam controller and modify the backups there. I would like to be able to control from a PC rather than the server. Tim, yes and no. So since we do have some time, I'm going to change things up a little bit. I haven't told nor have I asked anybody if this is okay to do this, but what I'm going to do is log into my Veeam server, and as opposed to just telling you, yep, we can do that and move on to the next question, let me see if I can get logged in here, and I'll just show you. So from a Veeam backup and replication perspective, Veeam backup and replication is the product. So that's going to be the Windows-based application that sits on the Windows server, right? Tim, to answer your question, a little bit yes and a little bit no, one component that may help, it may not, but it may, is something called the Veeam Enterprise Manager. What this is a web-based console that you don't have to RDP into the Veeam server to see things, do file level recovery. No, I don't like Chrome, but nobody asked me, nor did Google. But this is potential. This is a potential for you. So inside of here, if I can ever get past Chrome and get logged in, I'll show it to you. You're not going to be able to have full functionality. I'm not saying that, but it may offer you a little bit of functionality that you're looking for. Here it is. Here's a dashboard if you had multiple installations of Veeam. From here, if your particular end user help desk needs to kick off a job, it definitely could happen. So go find the job, and from there it could be started. It could be stop, clone, retry, whatever. From a file level recovery perspective, you do have the ability to give people limited user access into this. I'm inside the Enterprise Manager as a admin. I can see everything. However, if you gave that help desk person access to this and they needed to restore files, when they log in as that limited user role, you can come in here and allow them to log in and restore files. And most importantly, they would only see what you wanted them to see. For example, this tab as opposed to kicking off jobs or otherwise. That does hold true with Exchange and SQL Server items, as well as if you're coming from this from a perspective of I want that help desk admin or whomever, maybe it's just eyes on site for someone, to be able to come in here and not necessarily just do files. Maybe you want to do individual VMs or select specific VMs inside the infrastructure. That can all be hammered out. So, Tim, hopefully that gives you a little bit of meat to chew on, and if by some random chance it didn't, follow it up with another question, and we'll dig deeper if you need to. So I do thank you for the question, though. All right, another question from Tim. Can endpoint be purchased so it can be used from within the main console, or just the local edition that is free, managed locally? Tim, fantastic questions, and once again, yes and no. Our endpoint solution is a solution that is specifically made for endpoints, laptops, desktops. However, as kind of an added bonus, it does support server OSs. It is not a full-featured, full-fledged physical backup solution. By no means. It's not meant to do that. Never will. However, from an quote-unquote integration perspective, if you're pointing that as at a Veeam backup and replication repository, you do have the ability to see it. So you have some reporting metrics as well as being able to limit those endpoints that are backing up to, say, your infrastructure inside a backup and a replication, limiting them into the repository so they can't see the corporate backup. So, Tim, once again, hopefully that helped. Let's see, what other questions do we have? From Bill, any chance we can discuss excluding a VMDK from a backup? We absolutely can. And Bill, as opposed to just saying, yep, let me show you real quick. So inside of the Veeam console, if you want to exclude a particular VMDK, from here you modify the job, go to virtual machines, pick the VM in the job, and we have the ability to do exclusions. On those exclusions, if you, say, entered in a folder that had multiple VMs in it. Maybe you entered in a resource pool, or whatever the case may be. You could exclude VMs that exist inside of that resource pool, inside the cluster, inside the vCenter, or otherwise. From a disk perspective, getting back to Bill's original question, from here, if it's 2 VMDKs, from here, and this has only one, so you're not seeing it, my apologies, but you would be able to do select or deselect individual VMDKs. It will be listed by SCSI ID, by the way, so as long as you know the SCSI ID of the machine in question, and obviously you can find that very easily inside of VMware, you can exclude them all day long, so completely your choice. All right, that was Bill's question. Let's see, what else do we have? Another one from Tim is, the Backup Enterprise Manager part of the Enterprise Plus, or is it a separate license install? It is part of every paid edition of Veeam Backup and Replication. Some of the functionality from an edition perspective, Tim, that I was talking about, the follow-up recovery, for example, that exists in Enterprise. The ability to limit people from a particular subset of the infrastructure and allow them to restore, say, individual VMs that exist on a particular cluster, getting a little bit more granular, that's an Enterprise Plus. So from a separate installation perspective, to answer the last piece of Tim's question, it is a separate install that oftentimes gets forgotten about. So when you mount the ISO, you have two options. Install Backup and Replication, and I personally would say about 99.9% of the people always just do that and call it a day. Enterprise Manager is on the right-hand side of that box, by the way. Don't forget about it. If you have any paid edition of Veeam, you have it. Might as well use it if you can get some use out of it. Looks like that may be all the questions. Jason, I don't think you can even see the chat or the questions box anyway, so there wasn't anything specific to Great Lakes. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys to draw the winner of the gift card. And if I'm not mistaken, Jason, I think that's going to be, you guys will pull that out of a hat later and contact whomever is the winner, or do you already have one?
Unfortunately, I mean, I can't do it while we're on the call right now. I can't see all the participants, but we will be doing that. Unfortunately, no fanfare and, celebration here for the lucky winner, but yeah, it will be done afterwards.
Perfect. And Jason has assured me that I'm not it, so best of luck, guys. Enjoy your $100.
One final quick, I wanted to stress that a lot of people come to this question for me, Jay, is like, can I run Veeam inside of a virtual machine, and is it recommended?
Ooh, yes, all day long. So be it virtual or physical, we're okay with it. So it happens. We are a virtualization-centric company. You want to run a VM, we can absolutely accommodate. Caveats to that? Not really. Yeah, it just needs to be a 64-bit Windows OS. If you're a Linux shop, sorry guys, we're not there yet. It is a Windows-based installation, and after that, you're good.
Cool. All right, let's see, I think we can, unless there's any last-minute questions showing up in your window, Jay, I think we can wrap these up and these people can go to lunch.
I see none whatsoever. I would like to thank everybody for their time today. If you need to take anything offline that I glazed over in the Q&A, you've got my email address in front of you. The great people at Great Lakes can help you as well, find you help, be it from an installation perspective, configuration, or otherwise. So thank you, everyone, for their time today. Good luck to whomever wins a gift card, and have a nice afternoon.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, everybody.